So you might have been playing snooker a little while and you're trying to make your first 20 break. And I'm going to show you basically in under 15 minutes of how you can work from a beginner level, like how you do it in a game scenario, how to make your first 20 break. Obviously, the minimum shots required to get a 20 break is 6 shots together. So like I say, I'm going to go through a few different routines and then like actually in a game scenario of how you would go about doing that. So the first routine we're going to look at, like I say, is quite a sort of basic level, but it's still, you know, you can't take anything for granted in snooker, you know. So basically what we're going to try and do is pot red, then a blue, red, then a pink, and then red, then a black. So basically if you do that, obviously that's a 21 break. And it's just a good thing, like I say, if you are quite new to the game, just to get a little bit of confidence and even just potting 6 balls in a row. Like I say, you've just still got to concentrate and, you know, take your time and make sure you get all these shots in the right order. So like I say, it does look like a pretty basic routine, but you know, things can quickly go wrong. So we've got to try and watch out for little things as well, like maybe the cue ball going like really close to cushions and obviously in-offs and follow-throughs and stuff like that. So you can quite quickly realise, you know, how hard snooker is, but you've got to really still concentrate on every shot properly. So like I say, we're going to start with the red ball, just trying to pot the red, make sure the white doesn't go in. Then we're going to play the blue next, and then the red down to the middle pocket. So red ball next. So I'm on the pink here. As you can see, the cue ball from this angle is going to go up the table. So it's actually going away from the last red. So like already you're starting to see like little things of what can start to make things more difficult or can go slightly wrong. But so your option could be to maybe hit this a bit firmer so the cue ball travels maybe up and down the table to try and just get a little bit closer to the last red. So that's what I'll try and do. So the cue ball came up the table, just caught the jaws a little bit, but it's came out and I've still got a reasonable shot on the red. So even this is a little bit longer, I just got to make sure I line up correctly. Try not to put any spin on the cue ball. Nice and still. Now I'm nicely just on the black to finish. So if you've completed that, you've just made your first 21 break. So it's good just to get a few pots going, but also you're going to start actually learning from the potting angles and going around the table of a little bit how the cue ball's moving about and how it's working. Like I say, so you're going to have some short shots and longer shots, and like I say, you can't take it for granted. So that's a good little routine just to get you going. Now we'll move on to the next one. That's going to get a little bit harder. So the next routine we're going to do, like I say, is going to jump ahead quite a bit, but basically when you're practicing, obviously your main 20 breaks are going to be around the sort of pink and black area. So that's where we're going to concentrate on today. But like if you are practicing and you're struggling, missing quite a few, say, blacks off the spot, you can sort of like isolate them and maybe do like a different routine where you're potting different angles on the blacks. I've done that kind of routine before in another video that I'll put on the screen now, so you can go back and maybe isolate them blacks, like I say, to really sharpen up on them potting angles. But if you're potting, like I say, quite starting to get better and better, then we can obviously now try and develop a bit of cue ball control to start, like I say, making a 20 break, playing some nice control shots around the black area. Yeah. So this routine, as you can see, I've just got a red basically parallel with the black, just about a foot either side. And to be honest with you, this is sort of like one of my sort of favourite little break building routines. So the idea is we're going to try and pot the red and stop the cue ball here for the black. So hopefully I'll have a slight angle on the black. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pot the black and I'm going to keep putting the reds back on in these same positions. So the red's obviously in a nice position, and it's just giving you a bit of a chance to maybe build up a little bit of a break, like I say, and you can, you know, try and get them 6 shots together we're talking about to get a 20 break. So obviously here 3 reds and 3 blacks would be a 24 break. So we'll try that. So little soft stun shot to start off. So you can see I've got a bit of an angle on the black here. So I'm just going to try and play a little soft stun shot. So like I say, what I do is when I potted the black, I'm just going to put the red back on in that same position there. So basically, every time I'm potting the black, I'm just playing into a little area above here, and I'm going to have a choice of one of the reds to try and continue the break. So I'm on the second red here, so I'm just going to try and pot the red, come off the cushion for the black again. So like I say, when you're doing this routine, obviously you're not going to know at first exactly how to, you know, hit the cue ball in the right place, but just watching out even how it, you know, reacts quite naturally, you can learn a lot from. So in a routine like this, and quite often obviously in a game, we want to try and keep the cue ball like away from the side cushions and stuff like that, because obviously that's going to make the pot a lot harder, and also, you know, we can't really control the cue ball very well when we're on the side cushions. So that's one of the main things, is trying to keep the cue ball sort of more middle of the table and closer to a next shot. So next black, just the same thing, little soft stun shot. And then again, what I'm going to do is just put that red back on this side, and I've left the white again in the middle of the table, so I've got a choice of the 2 reds again. So on my next red, I'm just going to try and play a little soft stun shot for the black. So you can see there, that's 3 reds and 3 blacks. So I've made a 24 break there. Like I say, it's a good little routine just to sort of try and get you going with a bit of break building around the black spot, and trying to make maybe your first 20 break. Obviously, it's not going to be as straightforward as this in a real game, but like I say, I'm going to progress through a few different routines and definitely you know, finish off with how to do it more in a match environment. So the next sort of little routine you could try would be something like this. So this time the difference would be is you're just going to actually try and pot the 3 reds as they are, and obviously blacks if you can, and if you need to you can use pinks. So you're not going to replace the reds this time. The idea is just to get, as you can see them, the 3 reds in the 3 colours again to make a 20 break. So again, just moving on slightly harder with the difficulty, the next sort of routine we can try is just a little bit of a lineup. So you see this in the clubs all the time. It's probably the most popular routine in the world, where people will line up, you know, 10, 12, 15 reds up the middle of the table and try and obviously make a break. But I prefer, like I say, is to maybe, if you are struggling and you're pretty new and you're trying to improve your break building, maybe just put on, like I say, 3 reds and see if you can complete that. If you can, then obviously then you can start adding more reds, but you want to be trying to maybe complete this first before moving on and doing more and more reds. So first shot we're going to do just a little black, red into the corner and roll through for the black. So come round for the black. I'm a bit straight on the black, so I'm going to have to play a screw shot off the cushion for choice of reds. So from this position, I'm on the top red here. I'm just going to play a stun across for the black. And then from here, black, I'm going to play across to that side of the table, up for the this side for the red, into the opposite corner. One of the reasons that this routine is a little bit harder, I think, than the previous routine is because basically because the reds are in the middle of the table, we've either obviously got to get the cue ball's got to follow through, or generally like come backwards a bit. So there's quite a lot more like pace control involved. So that's why the difficulties is definitely getting higher. But you can see here I've got a slight angle, so the good thing is my angle is always taking us back down towards the black. That's one of the things that I always try and make sure I do, is finish high on the reds, then the angle's doing some of the work for us. So again here I'm just going to play a stun shot down for the black. So nice and straight on the black. So you can see there I've managed to get the 3 reds and 3 blacks, so I've made a 24 break. Definitely could see a slight difference there in the difficulty, but we'll move on to the next one that's even a little bit harder than that. So the last routine we're going to try, like I say, is a bit more advanced. We've actually got like a pack on in the middle of the table like you would at the start of a game, and then I've just put like 5 reds around the black and pink area, quite random. So I haven't made it too easy. I've got a couple of reds near our cushions as well. So that's going to obviously happen in games quite a lot. So we can either, like I am here, I'm just going to place the cue ball for the first shot, just to try and give us sort of a good start from here and try and make me 20 break. Or if you really wanted to and take it to the next level, you could move one of the reds and just slightly play like a long pot to start your break off, because that's obviously what's going to happen sometimes from a start of a frame, of someone obviously has played like a safety shot. Your first pot might be from the baulk end. So like I say, I'm going to run through from here, just trying to make a 20 break from just a bit more of like a random position like this that you might see in frames. So first red I'm just going to play a soft stun for the black. So got the black, I'm just going to play a little soft stun off the cushion for the bottom red. So I'm quite nice on this red here. I've got a nice little angle, so I can just play again a soft stun up for the black. So this is me second black, and I'm pretty much perfect here. I've got a nice angle, so what I could actually do from this position is play for any of them 3 reds. So that's like a big plus obviously with break building, is having choice at the table. And again, obviously all of this comes from a lot of practice of me potting, obviously cue ball control, and obviously shot selection as well is a big part of break building, and that's where it's obviously getting more and more complex. So just for an example, I could play a stun shot off the cushion here back towards this side for that red. That shot would work for me in particular as well, because I'm left-handed, so I could physically reach over the table to pot that red. A right-handed player would probably have a different shot selection. So the other shots I could play would just be to come off the cushion and go slightly up that side of the table, and I could play for that red in the corner. Or if I went just a little bit past that, I would have that red into the middle. So like I say, I could play either shot. What I'm going to play is the second shot I said, because that way it's given us a choice of 2. I've got a slightly bigger area to land into, so I'll have either the red in the corner or the red in the middle. So check my angle, just do my full shot routine. I'm just hitting just above centre on the cue ball. So you can see that I've come round off the cushion nicely, and I've got this red, so I'm just going to try and play a stun shot for the black. So this is going to be my third black, which is obviously going to take us up to that 24 break again. But maybe if you're in this obviously position, you want to obviously try and keep the break going if you can. So from this position, obviously I've got a nice angle again. So I'm going to play across to that side cushion now because, like I say, I'm left-handed, so that's a good area for me to land into. So just above centre. Just let the white follow through for the red. You can see there I've got another 24 break, but from a slightly harder position, obviously. So like I say, if you're working through and you are progressing through them different stages, that is quite a good one to try if you're finding that in frames that you are, really struggling to get them 20 breaks. Just, you can do that routine over and over again, obviously, and just put the reds in different random positions, and it's giving you that variation that you're going to have in proper frames of snooker. But like I say, I've given you a few ideas there, going from quite an obviously beginner level, just trying to put them 6 shots together to get past, that it's quite a big threshold, I think, when you start playing snooker to get into that sort of 20 break area. So hopefully that's helped you out. As usual, let us know in the comments if there's anything else you want to see, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to watch all future content.